5:22,
I understand.
have roll call.
No, not you. Only one that's not on.
Okay, please vote.
I'm here.
Still not doing it.
Let me try from my side. Give us just a minute, please. Corey's not here.
There you go.
Open for roll call.
My thing, and it worked.
Ms. Newberry?
Let the record show 8 council members are present, Mr. Orboro's absent. We'll go to number 2.
There is no executive session. Number 3, proclamations. A proclamation declaring March 2021 as American Red Cross Month in the parish of Plaquemines. Councilmember Konovich.
I'll offer ask for unanimous second.
No objection.
Unanimous second.
5:30, 5:29.
A proclamation declaring March 2021 as American Red Cross Month in the parish of Plaquemines. Whereas nearly 200 years ago, the birth of one very special lady, Miss Clara Barton, changed the lives of so many in need. Nearly 140 years ago, the American Red Cross was founded. And whereas the American Red Cross has reached out across Louisiana and the world in times of need to help families no matter what or where the disaster is. Through hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, and even pandemics, thousands of dedicated individuals and partners have carried out this organization's mission of preventing and alleviating suffering. And whereas countless numbers of volunteers and partners have worked tirelessly to tend to the needs of those displaced. Last year, volunteers responded to more than 1,300 fires, provided more than 928,400 overnight stays in emergency hotel lodging due to hurricanes, served more than 2 million meals and snacks, distributed more than 230,000 emergency relief items, and made nearly 60,000 individual care contacts and provided nearly 10,000 households with emergency financial assistance. And whereas the American Red Cross has trained nearly 26,000 individuals in critical life-saving skills like CPR, AED, and water safety. Their service to the Armed Forces Hero Care Network provided more than 8,900 services to our military and military families during their deployment and when they return home. And whereas due to Clara Barton's vision and founding of the American Red Cross, we dedicate the month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy and all the volunteers and partners who commit themselves to all who are in need. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, Mark Konovich, and by concurrence of the parish president, Kirk M. Lapine, representing the Plaquemines Parish government, that it hereby declares the month of March 2021 as American Red Cross Month in the parish of Plaquemines.
Machines open. It show it passes 8-0.
Number 4, status report by... Oh, 9E.
Then we go to 9E.
9E, a resolution giving supplemental approval to the issuance of not to exceed $75 million aggregate principal amount of revenue refunding bonds of the parish of Plaquemines, state of Louisiana, for the purpose of adding additional or alternative security to the proposed bonds and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
I'll offer, ask for second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Roussel. Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name. State your name and add.
Hey, Hardy Andrews with Foley and Dale, and the resolution here before you is pretty straightforward. It's just a supplemental to the one that was passed in 2020, kind of shifting a few things around, which I'll actually let Mr. Bressler go into.
Hey, good afternoon. Lee Brusser with Raymond James. We've been looking at your debt for quite a while, trying to figure out how to reduce the debt service, save you all some money, and we were very focused on the two 2012 issues, one for the courthouse and the other for the levy projects. And the one that seems to be the most attractive for refinancing was the one that financed the levy projects. So we looked at several different variations on how to save you all the most money. And the idea that we came up with was to change those bonds from annual appropriation budgetary loans to bonds backed by your sales tax. So we're in the process of putting that together. In the meantime, when interest rates have gone up, so it's not as attractive as it was. We're just trying to get ready so that when and if rates come down, or we get closer to the call date, or they change the law to allow us to use tax-exempt bonds, we'll be in a position to pull the trigger and try to save you some money. So this is just in the approval process. We were trying to move as quickly as we can. Now we're going to hold back and wait for a better market or one of the other conditions to be able to get you the savings that we think you guys are going to want to see.
Yes, Mr. Blank?
Sure. Lee, do factors like having a toll bridge impact the bond rating here in the parish, where there's economic uncertainty surrounding things like that, or projected sea level rise, or adopting new flood maps, things like that? Do you find you have issues there sometimes in your business?
I mean, sales taxes, are what will be backing the bonds, and there's a lot of factors that affect those. There is a lot of scrutiny about, hurricane risk, flooding risk, and other things in general. But we've been experiencing that, for quite a while now. So just being located on the coast is an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage according to some of the rating agencies and bond insurers. So we're constantly fighting the fight to make sure they understand the good and the bad with the location.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Administration?
No, sir.
Audience? Machines open. It passes 8-0.
Thank you, Lee.
Ms. Smallcock, can we go to 10, 11B2?
Yes, sir. (11B), District 9 update. Councilmember Konovich. Number 1, discussion on baseball quad.
Or that one, number 2.
Number 2, Ralston presentation regarding FEMA claims.
State your name and your,
I'm short, sorry. Okay, good evening. My name's Jamie Welsh. This is Carlos Arredondo. We are with Rostan Solutions. We are part of your grant management team for the FEMA Public Assistance Grant Management Program. We were invited today to present to you a snapshot of the parish's FEMA projects across multiple disasters since 2017 to current. The report that was given to you and that you see on the screen, it's a very rough draft of what we hope to relay all relevant information that you want to see on a routine basis. Between Carlos and myself, we do hope to present to you this overview and answer any questions you may have related to the parish's hurricane and the pandemic recoveries. So that first tab, The workbook, it actually separates each disaster under our scope of services. First two projects are Tropical Storm Nate and Hurricane Harvey. Both of these storms happened in 2017. Our claims for both projects included emergency protective measures. They were inherited projects that we reconciled previously. They had previously reduced expenses by GOSEP. We performed other housekeeping tasks such as time extensions, and then we got both projects to close out. So we also underwent an audit. It was a verify as you go audit. It was just an informal pre-audit before we get to the major OIG audits. So that doesn't hold up closeout. Once final costs are approved by FEMA, remaining payments will be dispersed to the parish. You can ask as we go, that's fine. I was going to let you look at each report too. Again, this is a working copy. I do want feedback. I know you're probably going to want a summary to see, how much we're actually managing for you guys, and then what you're actually getting back. So we can adjust this report as needed, but please ask questions, disaster specific, if you want.
Mr. Roussel?
For Hurricane Nate and Harvey, you said they were closed out?
They're pending closeout right now. We had to do a few reconciliations, like I said. We had to perform multiple cost analyses to justify cost, and that just took a little time. So they are in closeout. They're routing through FEMA's final review queues.
And the ineligible cost, those are possibly going to be reimbursed?
So no, for Nate and Harvey, those ineligible costs are final. Those were costs that we simply could not provide like receipts or invoices for, things of that nature. And I can give you, outside of this meeting, just to save time, I can give you the details of the breakdown of those costs.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Roussel?
No, next, move on.
Okay. So that's, again, for Nate and Harvey, those are legacy disasters that we're just trying to finalize and get past closeout. So I'm going to skip to Barry. That occurred in 2019. For this one, we did have debris removal operations, we had emergency protective measures, and we did also have some permanent work to roads, levees, and some lift stations. I'm separate on these reports that you see. I do separate the projects that haven't been obligated. That just means we went through all the if the project's obligated, we went through all the FEMA approvals for scope and cost, and they approved it, and then we can request the reimbursement, and that's when you receive your payments. And so as projects become obligated, they'll move up to those rows above. So we've been working right now on Barry. Things kind of slowed down with COVID, but we've been working with FEMA's Consolidated Resource Center in Denton, Texas, just to develop final scope for like the roads, the emergency protective measures, and the levees. There was just, especially with things like levees, you have to go through EHP, and they have a lot of questions. So we're still working with them. We do expect those final three projects that you see at the bottom under unobligated, we expect that to move up to the obligated queues in the next 60 days. And at that point, once again, we'll submit reimbursement and you'll receive payment. Do you have any questions on Barry at this time?
Mr. Roussel?
The management cost,
Yes, sir.
those are reimbursable?
Yes, sir, and I apologize. And that's exactly, that's our cost. That's Rostan's cost. So for Nate and Harvey, the management costs were treated differently. They used to cap you at like around 3% or something reasonable, but of course it was flexible and you could request more. So we don't see any issues, obviously, with Nate and Harvey getting those costs reimbursed. For newer disasters, it's capped at 5%. Our costs are reimbursable up to 5% of the total disaster amount.
Is that considered management cost?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And there's two different categories, management, and they have another one?
So, no, our costs are management costs. Everything else is just separated by the actual work, whether it be debris removal, emergency operations, things of that nature.
Those have changed over the years? I thought that at one time they had like a 10% cost for FEMA to have a management cost, and
So, I'm sorry, for Nate and Harvey, they had an arbitrary percentage of 3%. The state issued that. It was not capped at anything else but the 3%. But it was very flexible because it was never in writing. It wasn't a policy. But that doesn't occur anymore. Now it's capped at 5% of total disaster costs.
and that's a policy across FEMA all the way?
Yes, correct. So and that's, again, like I said, as long as it's up to the 5% of the total damage cost, is 100% reimbursable.
And I guess what I'm trying to reflect on is the cost of management for like Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Gustav, and Ike. Those percentages were higher.
Those are going to be more, those could be. It was a traditional DAC policy. It's flexible. There was never, it wasn't capped at that 5%.
Okay, thank you.
So any questions on Barry, I apologize. Anything else on Barry? So for the next two tabs, it includes COVID-related projects. It covers both the COVID costs that will be covered under the FEMA Public Assistance Grant and then the CARES Act. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, jump to the CARES Act tab first. That came into play with an application period starting June 1st. The CARES Act claim took priority since there was specific application periods, but also because we were able to request costs under CARES that would not have been FEMA eligible, such as any kind of budgeted employee that dedicated time to COVID. Only their overtime would have been eligible for FEMA. So we claimed all the regular time that you incurred under CARES, and it was reimbursed. So you see the report, you can see the various application periods broken up. The first two application periods for CARES, we did receive 100% of the costs that we requested. The last application period that you see, it was only partially reimbursed just because it was a bucket of money, it was an allocation, and other entities was able to submit claims to get some of those costs that was allocated. So I think, for instance, the Plaquemines Sheriff's Office did submit a claim, and they exhausted the remaining funds.
So, when we do that, do we have to pick up the tab or where it's
So no, so then what wasn't approved for CARES, FEMA COVID is still going on, and they're expanding a lot of scope eligibility. So that is ongoing. So whatever we did not receive, as long as it's FEMA eligible, obviously we would have to adhere to FEMA policy. We will take all that leftover work and submit it for FEMA.
So FEMA was they're only reimbursing direct costs associated with COVID that were actually expensed. What the CARES Act did, it allowed us to also charge against those funds anyone involved in the health department, the fire department, and what was the other department? In EMS. And so as you can see from the chart, there was a limited time frame upon which you could seek reimbursement for those claims. So what we did is to max out our entire claim, we claimed all health department, all EMS, and all firefighters during the time frame that we were allowed. And so that's why you see us capturing the full amount that was available to us at that time. So the goal was to capture as much as possible for the CARES Act, and then any of the other direct expenses that were thereafter would be captured under FEMA. And so we've been collecting the data and keeping the data for those purposes. So we wanted to max out the CARES Act because that was only available for a limited amount of time and only for a limited certain periods. And then now everything, unless this new federal legislation that potentially is coming down, unless that changes, now everything is being coded to FEMA, and so we can seek the normal reimbursements through FEMA. But those are only for direct COVID expenses.
And for COVID, FEMA projects right now, if you jump back to that report, we did submit one project last year. We did cover some overtime, payroll, and equipment usage. up until now, or up until recently, FEMA did deem many applicants' COVID claims ineligible. They had very strict policies on what they would approve. But then all projects were placed on hold due to new guidance. So we only recently received notification that eligible work will now be funded at 100% from the beginning of the pandemic in January 2020 to September 30th of this year. So, of course, we do suspect that September date will be extended, but FEMA has also expanded, like I was mentioning earlier, they expanded eligible scope. So they're in the FEMA is in the process of issuing an amended COVID policy, and then at that point, we will start submitting additional COVID projects once that's in place. Any other questions on COVID or CARES Act? Okay, so 2020, if a global pandemic wasn't enough for everybody in 2020, the parish also experienced a cluster of hurricanes in just a matter of 2 months. So while the parish is still recovering from the preceding hurricane season and a biological disaster, it endured 4 hurricanes back to back. The next 3 tabs you have are Laura, Sally, and Delta. For these 3 disasters, we incurred emergency work only. We didn't have any kind of permanent repairs that were needed. All 3 of those projects are actively being routed through the FEMA queues. We work with them every day. We're working directly with the Consolidated Resource Center in Denton, Texas, and of course EHP. So we do think FEMA is overwhelmed with the events of last year, including COVID, so that these disasters should take priority and hopefully be obligated again within the upcoming months. And at that point, we will submit reimbursement, you'll get your payments. And then lastly, of course, of those 4 disasters that hit in 2020, Plaquemines got hit by Zeta, and Zeta, the parish did incur more damages with Zeta. Not only did you have debris removal and emergency-related work, but you also had some damages to buildings, more levy damage. You had some light poles and some parks down. So it was a little bit more extensive. We are in the very early stages with FEMA for this disaster. FEMA approved Plaquemines for permanent work in February. So we were just assigned our FEMA point of contact, and we conducted our first FEMA meeting today. It was this morning. So we've been working with parish officials and departments to collect all the necessary data and documentation to identify and report all of the damages. So that report, as you see, is very incomplete. Carlos is our field inspector. He goes out usually with FEMA. Due to COVID, FEMA is not going on site these days. So it would be left to Carlos and parish officials to go out. He's conducted 2 site inspections on the levees, and we're still trying to reconcile your insurance and how insurance will come into play with your permanent work, especially for the buildings and equipment that was damaged. So Carlos, in the next couple weeks, will be conducting more inspections on those items. Any questions on Laura, Sally, or Delta?
Mr. Blank?
Yeah, I mean, this might be more for the administration than you, Jamie, but it might be good while you're here. There are places that we just repeatedly place sandbags, like the Venice Jump, the siphon right there at La Receipt. Is there a way to get maybe FEMA to help with those? We're sitting here expending funds storm after storm after storm. We're using borrowed equipment for half-rotten sandbags sometimes. It's not a good way to protect the people here. Is there...
For the removal of them, or for additional sandbags?
Maybe even just to raise the road slightly so we're not constantly
There are
fighting that type of
mitigation
thing.
opportunities, and we can, if you don't mind, I'll be prepared at the next meeting. We can have a mitigation plan. We can start working with the parish and discuss your needs and what would be beneficial. We can absolutely put together a mitigation plan, and yes, that would be FEMA eligible.
That would be amazing. That would allow us to focus our efforts on maybe more pressing things than just swapping sandbags in and out the day before a storm's coming through. So Jamie,
Right.
that would
When
be...
a storm hits the Gulf, Plaquemines is going to get hit. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you again.
And again, that does conclude just right now what we're looking at. I do want to perfect this report, obviously, to just be cleaner, give you the information that you want to see. Again, I know you probably want to see what we're managing and what you're getting back in reimbursements. That's probably the key items for these meetings. So if you don't mind, even off after the meeting or as you look at the report in more detail, please give us feedback and we'll change the report as you see fit.
So we all know there's a lot of frustration going back, all the way back to Katrina on these issues and reimbursements, et cetera. So what the administration's trying to do is stay on top of this. Obviously, we've been dealing with Rostan since, Nate was the first one? And our goal is to have them do quarterly, we think quarterly is reasonable, quarterly reports like this to keep you all updated. If you all want them to come and give a presentation quarterly, I'm sure they'd be willing to do that. Otherwise, what we can do is provide updates and say, here are the changes from the last presentation. So, that's going to be up to you guys about what y'all want to do. We're trying to keep, as you can see the chart, it's fairly simple, and the whole point is to keep it fairly simple. If we start bogging y'all down with a bunch of paperwork, let's be honest, nobody's going to read it, going to look through it. If there's something specific you're interested in, I think you can request it of them, and we'll present it to you. And if you're asking for payroll for a particular reimbursement, we'll supply that information when you guys request it specifically. So the goal is to keep a high level view, present y'all with enough data so you can keep track of reimbursements and where we are on obligations, and hopefully stay on top of this. If you all don't like the way this is presented, or you recommend another column, or something like that, we'll certainly take that into consideration and modify the report as we need to.
Mr. Blank?
If there is some of these things seem to be somewhat time limited, maybe they expire over a period of time, maybe if there is a column for the sort of absolute drop dead date, that might be helpful. And it might already be in here someplace, and I just haven't, it's not, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Administration? Audience? Want to thank you, Jamie and Carlos, for your presentation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Marcotte, can we go to 11E?
Yes, sir. District 7 update. Are you asking for number 2? Presentation by Andy Nyman of LSU regarding National Estuarine Research Reserve for Louisiana.
Thank you. I appreciate your time to talk to you. It's going to take me a minute to figure out how to get this working. There we go. Well, while my computer warms up or not, my name's Andy Nyman. I'm a professor at Louisiana State University up in Baton Rouge. Several months ago, I was one of about 60 or 70 people invited to serve on a committee that is trying to bring a National Estuarine Research Reserve to Louisiana. This is a program that's existed since the 1970s. There's 29 of them scattered across the country. Wisconsin is about to apply for their second one. Louisiana is simultaneously trying to apply for its first reserve. Let me go ahead and get my computer up and running. It's showing there now. I want to show you a map of where these places are. Oh, I just messed that up. Got to start over again. That was actually over in Texas, but I was just down at the mouth of the river Monday and Tuesday. All right, I'm about to show this, see where I stopped here. Let's see if I got that right. Yeah.
Telling you.
Well, this process of bringing a near to Louisiana is, they say it's a 3 to 5 year process. It's about 2 years for the state to make a proposal, and then 2 to 3 years for the feds to accept or reject it, ask for some revisions. And we're just starting. We're several months into this. It's not showing y'all. It was a minute ago. Oh, okay. Well, there's the timeline. That's where we are right now. Well, you see, we're not, where the blue arrow shows where we actually are. We're running a little bit behind schedule, but we're actually moving to picking sites. And not just, up till now, we've been talking about which part of the coast to rule out. And now we're getting ready to start to pick sites. There's a little bit of information from the rules and regulations about the goals of the National Estuarine Research Reserves. It's a place for research, for people like me to conduct research out in the marsh, address coastal management issues. Y'all got that here for sure. Enhance public awareness and understanding of estuarine areas and provide suitable opportunities for public education, interpretation. That's kind of the big deal. Here's a map. It's not showing too well on there. You can see those little green dots scattered all across the country. Louisiana doesn't have one. Like I mentioned, Wisconsin is actually applying for their second one. That's kind of embarrassing. NOAA provides the funding. The state has a lead agency or university responsible for the day-to-day management. I assume y'all are most interested in the funding. So here's some text here. I have copies for all board members here of the full regulations. You see, the feds will put up half the money, up to $5 million, to acquire land. That's one thing we don't have a problem anywhere in Louisiana. We have enough non-federal public property that we actually don't have to purchase land. But up to 70% of all actual costs for the management and operation of the development and construction of the facility, to conduct the educational activities, to conduct the research. Sometimes it goes to 100% if they're using money that they get from natural resource damage assessments. I'm going to show you an example. Mississippi has a near. In the extreme southwest Mississippi. This is a website, the cover page, Grand Bay. Here's the facility, the headquarters. Pretty cool facility. I've been there. I've taken students there. I know researchers from Louisiana who do research there. Researchers from Alabama go there to do research. The left-hand side is a big classroom that can bring in K-12 students. They've got a big parking lot to accommodate buses. The wall across the back is all offices and labs for researchers. That right-hand wing is especially important. It's the bunkhouse and kitchen so that researchers can stay there 2 or 3 nights as often as they need to, or I can bring students there. That's really important. Can't see it behind there. They've got a nice boatyard. That's something that's needed for NEAR to work. Here's a map showing their property out there. I think I can make the mouse move up here. No, it doesn't show. There's the boundaries in that hatched area. They have 2 different colors because they have a core area and a buffer area. We don't need to talk about that right now. My point here is that it's about 18,000 acres, one of the smaller ones in the program. Here's the land ownership in that National Estuarine Research Preserve. 49% is the most of it that can be federal property. The rest has to be non-federal public land or private land that the landowners made available. Most of that is state-owned land. That's the ownership of the land. Grand Bay is a little different because it's all one contiguous block, but that's actually kind of unusual. These maps here show 3 other NEARs on the Gulf Coast, and you'll see that their lands are disconnected. They're not all connected in one block. The land is disconnected. They're all connected by public water bottoms. That's the actually more common way of doing it. So if we do this, will this require giving up land to NOAA? No, NOAA does not own the land. It stays within original ownership. Does it bring more rules and regulations? No, you keep the same thing, same rules and regulations you already have. Do you restrict what goes on there? No, you just keep on letting happen what's happened. That's part of the estuary. Those are the people are part of the estuarine system. I'll give you some examples. Over at Apalachicola, they still have hunting within the NER, Natural Estuarine Research Reserve. They have recreational fishing at Grand Bay. Mission Aransas NER over in Texas, they still have their oil and gas going on in the estuarine reserve. And they also have commercial fishing that's still continuing there. It is important that you have to document these things up front because you do enter an agreement with NOAA about what you will allow and won't allow. But if you put it in writing and you get it agreed to, it stays within the NER. These are I just passed you the rules and regulations. There's a lot of pages. Someone described it this way. These are the 4 criteria for getting one. And I've been looking at these things for several months now. When this started, I just knew the best place for a NER was over at Chaffly Delta Marsh Island Refuge. I've been working for LDWF for a long time. I do Passalute, I do all over. But over the months, I've thought more and more about it. I'm actually starting to think Plaquemines Parish is the best place for a NER. I've got my eyes, and there's a lot of places. Anyone can nominate a site. This is not up for me or any one person. This is all on the board. We're that early in the process. I've got my eyes on your piece of property at the water treatment plant. You're right there by the siphon. You got the ferry right there. As a researcher, you're just a few miles upriver from Mardi Gras Pass. And that property extends to the riverbank. You have a launch into the river to go to Mardi Gras Pass. You got the siphon there. You got the diversion coming. A lot of things for researchers to study. You've got some parish-owned land out there that could be the basis of the NER. Those yellow sections out there, that middle row up there, that would be a great place to put in the NER, I think. It's your land. It's not my land, though. It's yours. People of Plaquemines Parish. You connect it with the public water bottoms as little or as much as you want. Maybe extend it out to pick up the seed beds. Justify getting more research for the oysters, perhaps. It's up to you. How much of the state would have a say on that. That's state water bottoms. But you can encourage or discourage as much of that as you want. And what is really cool about this is you're about 40 miles from downtown New Orleans. Most NERs probably bring in a couple thousand school kids, K to 12, in a year. Certainly you can keep doing that here. But you've got the possibility to bring in some tourists from New Orleans. Yeah, they want to spend most of their time on Bourbon Street, but some will want to go out and see the marsh too. And so I can imagine bringing them down there to the site, the headquarters. They see the movie, they get to talk to by the biologist. Then they can maybe take a tour, launch in the river and go down through Mardi Gras Pass. Maybe there's another tour taking them airboats out in the West Bank marshes. What little I know about it seems like a good idea to me. So those are the 4 criteria. I think that y'all have a great opportunity. And my question to you is, within a week or two, I need to know whether or not you want me to encourage this idea in this committee or discourage it. It's your call. If you're for it, then we got to find some state agency or university to take up the big part. They got to put up the money to bring in the Fed money. Someone's going to have to do that. And that may not ever happen. That's probably why it hadn't happened yet in Louisiana over 30 years. But I'll answer any questions if you have them. I'll take phone calls or emails.
Dr. Gouy?
Yeah, Andy, on site selection,
Yes, sir.
are there criteria such as access by highway, access by water, or is highway access even part of the site selection criteria?
That's not explicitly mentioned, but I know that when I'm thinking about going somewhere to do research or bring students, I want to be able to get to some place, and then that's kind of easy to get to, and then I want to bring them out into the marsh. And so, yeah, although highway isn't explicitly mentioned, it seems like you got to be able to get them there.
Okay, well,
That's the other thing. But the near site, the one at Grand Bay, their headquarters was not even within the boundaries. It was outside. So your headquarters doesn't have to be within the boundaries.
well, I would would say that there needs to be a go-to person in the administration, and of course, any council members who would want to participate too. And have you had any discussions as to who that go-to person would be?
No, a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, I emailed Richie Blink, and then a couple of weeks ago, then I emailed Carlton LaFrance, and that led to this invitation to come present to all of y'all today. So
I think the opportunity, as you said, you had another area in mind. I think the more you start looking at what we have to offer because of the Mississippi River, the estuary system, the Delta itself, it's going to be remarkable compared to, in a good way, compared to anywhere else because of the diversity. And you even mentioned oyster industry. We got the oyster, shrimp, the commercial fishing, rec fishing, and all of that. But we also have the issues that are that we have addressed or are addressing with coastal erosion and sea level rise. And so I don't think you're going to find a better place than Plaquemines, but I would really encourage finding a go-to person in President Lepine's administration, and maybe some of the council members, and the two you mentioned are excellent because they live in those areas, they firsthand knowledge. I hope the ball doesn't get dropped, and that the next time we see you, it'll be a move that we've selected a place in Plaquemines Parish.
thank you.
That's all I can tell you, man.
Thank you.
Mr. LaFrance?
Yes, when I did talk to Mr. Andy, I did ask him, would he be able to utilize Port Eads? And you can.
Port Eads is just too far. I've been there. When I work that far down, I go to stay at the headquarters at Passalute. And I'm a shallow marsh guy. Blue water people would use Port Eads, but it's too far. And I even tried over a year ago now, Robert Perez asked me to talk to some people at the University of Southern Mississippi and see if we could get something going. And that's not the type of research I do.
It is a different area.
Different set of opportunities down there.
Different thing, because you say blue water and.
What about the building in Port Sulphur? What is it, secondary education building? Right above the hospital.
Talking about the Learning Center?
Yeah.
You would have to go through
No matter
Mr.
who they gotta
Russo.
go through, it's a building they could use,
Yeah.
school board owns. Any other questions from council? Mr. Blink?
Dr. Nyman, thank you again for your time and attention towards this matter. We appreciate you looking to bring something like this to Plaquemines Parish. It is much needed, and I echo Dr. Gui and others' comments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we would like to go to item E1.
You got it, John Helmer?
Can we go to 11D first?
Speed dial.
11D, Ms. Marcotte?
Dog.
Yes.
District 1 update, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, at this point in time, thank the administration for a solid waste south group. They was outstanding in cleaning up the East Bank. I mean, I've never seen this before. Man, it was raining. They had the rain suit on. They was out there picking up the trash, debris, and not only with the machine, but they was raking it up. You took a rake and cleaned it all. So when they finished, they didn't have anything left. And I've never seen that. And the superintendent himself was out there raking. So I want to thank you, Mr. President. You have a group down there that's outstanding, and they really take care of their work very seriously. And I want to thank them for doing an outstanding job of cleaning up those 2 days or 3 days that they was out there on the East Bank, and I thank you for your support and also your superintendent, director. But those guys really worked hard, and it was foggy. They didn't quit. They just did it all. And I've never seen people work in rain like that, effectively and efficiency. So I want to thank you for that. Also, I would like to update on Highway Overlay 15. You can talk with the engineer to see where we're at with that. And also at the next meeting, the back levy from Phoenix to Bohemia, because I got a call I made a call up to the Corps, and we're not fully accepted into the federal levy anymore until we complete the project that they are working on now. That's what they told me. And also, if you can find out any ways that we can possibly get a little potato ridge or some type of levy system on Phoenix to White Ditch, where we always have that flood water. And maybe if we need legislation from the council, I'd be glad to introduce it to ask CPRA about them funding that particular project. And that's all I have today. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I will be leaving.
Thanks for the kind words, Mr. O'Connor. And we do have a good workforce. Thank you.
Outstanding. We got A for that.
Flies there, brother. 2 down.
Mr. LaFrance, what would you like to go to?
11E, update by the parish president and health department. John Batam, I just want to let you know, you don't open up a can of worms. Now, when it's going to be raining on my side of it, I'm going to be looking for them guys to be working in the rain with the rain suits too. All right?
11E1, update by parish president and health department on the coronavirus in the parish.
Thank you, Mr. LaFrance. I do have that in my president's update, so you want me to just do it now, or I can do it?
Yeah, please, if you could do it.
Okay. Our COVID numbers as of March 3rd, which was yesterday, March 10th. Our positive rate is 1,749 cases. Our positivity rate went up to 9% after we were at 4.3%. The death total is still 25. The vaccine update as of Monday, 4,054 residents have been vaccinated. That's 17.6% of the residents. And 2,351 of our residents have received a complete series of vaccinations. So that's 10.2%. So we're getting more and more people vaccinated. This information was updated on Monday and Thursday of each week. This week, the following locations received vaccines for the general public was Delta Drugs, Plaquemines Health Department, and Plaquemines Medical Center and Primary Care are only administering the second dose vaccines at this time. There were 450 vaccines given to PMC. A robocall went out today. They will be given those vaccines starting Monday. I apologize. I'm trying to read my notes. They went out today to take appointments. You must still follow the criteria that LDH puts out there, but that's 450 vaccines that will be at the the Buras Auditorium, and the National Guard will be assisting them. So that will be on Monday. And that is my update on COVID, Mr. LaFrance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we just go straight to the president?
I can jump into that since I gave the COVID numbers. I just had a few other things. We're very excited to announce that Hogs for a Cause will be coming here on the on the parade grounds on June 4th and June 5th. They presented a COVID plan to the state fire marshal, LDH, and our health department. And each entity has signed off on it. So we will be hosting them June 4th and June 5th out here, and we look forward to having a great event out here and having a safe and a successful event. The tickets will go on sale now. I gave you each a form today to show you that we're getting almost a $700,000 grant from DOTD. I went over with you guys. On the bottom of the page, it tells you the streets that they will be working on. So we will be actively scraping sides of streets to prepare for this. It needs to be done by May or June so we can get this grant and get all the signage and all the striping done. So if you have any questions, but those are the roads on
I
there.
got one question on that.
Yes.
Bannis River Road, I see Buras River Road and Tidewater Road, but is Venice River Road on that?
If it's not on here, I'll check, Mr., but I don't know why, but I'll check and see if they'll do that too.
Thank you.
Okay. Also, I want to end my thing. I actually gave you a pumping station report last week. I asked you to review it. My pumping station superintendent is here. I'm going to yield to him and ask him come to the mic and give us analysis of, I've given you all a sheet and some of the deficiencies that are in our pumping stations. And I'm going to ask him to turn it over to him. So would Mr. Danny Spears come up?
Hey, how are y'all? What we have on the paper there, that is the major fixes that need to be addressed pretty quickly before going into hurricane season. In that other report, it was a lot of major fixes, but these here, one of those pump stations I have zero capacity at. That's going to be the Bellevue pump in Davan. Point Celeste, out of 4 pumps, I'm down to 1, and it is barely limping along. And also, the Duvic pump station in Venice, it's down to 50%. 1 out of 2 motors is out and needs to be replaced completely.
Mr. Bowie?
The administration has already started to look at this. And this will be kind of an education for me, too. When we had the presentation by Rostan, those dollars, those reimbursement dollars, given the financial straits we're in, the only money we have for capital repairs is whatever we can find over and above the operating budget, which is nil. So while they were discussing all of these reimbursements, to me, a prioritized plan of where those monies should be allocated. I mean, here's the top of the line right here. And I wanted to mention that. I'm sure that's already been discussed and thought of, but that's something I could really support.
Definitely, we'll look into something.
Yeah.
I handed Mr. Kognovich a ordinance today to start a pump and repair line item in the budget and taking some of the money out of the coastal bond unreserved, which is interest that we've earned. So it's not out of anybody's project. It's out of interest we earn. So I hope that we can get an agreement and start and concentrate on what is the most severe ones and work our way out. As you see, these have been adding up. Like Duvic is the worst, Belleville is next, and Point Celeste is next. So they're all in different districts. So we need to concentrate on getting some or most of these fixed. Some of these are not as in a bad shape as the first ones, but we still got to find a plan. And you're right, we're going to try to search every avenue we can to put in our pumping stations, because nothing's worse than when it's raining and you guys are calling me, the pumping station's working. They're working to the best ability that I have. So I just want you guys to be aware. And again, if you have any questions on this, on the report for Danny, he's here. I'm just ask you to ask him.
Mr. Blank?
Yes, a couple things. And this is maybe back and forth between Danny and folks in the administration. Is Mr. Helmers here? Mr. Helmers, maybe this is for you first here. It's a kind of overall, overlying, bigger picture here. So a few months or weeks back, I'd asked for a cost for, and it was a very big ask. What is the cost to operate the levy system, the pumping station system, that kind of thing? So if we do have to ask folks in the future, maybe to go at trying to get a millage to pay for these things, it's expensive to live below sea level. How is the progress on that? Are you about halfway done, 3/4 of the way done? Because I think knowing what the total costs are for everything is vital to getting that sort of public support we need to pay for the pumping system and the levy system.
Right. We have a study that was done from 2012 that puts us at like 6.9 $3 million. I had emailed that to y'all. So if you look through that, you should have that on there from the state. That's what they're recommending in the cost. And that covers all of our operations. That covers the SWEPA West. That will help us maintain the levees and the pumping stations. But yes, we'd need about $6 to $8 million a year to fully fund his department with repairs. The conditions that I inspected at all the pump stations, I'm just amazed that they even work. So we need that, and we'll have more of a detailed report on that. We're about halfway through that right now.
Got it. All right. If you could just please periodically update me on the progress of that, because
Absolutely.
people are asking.
Right.
You know, and I think that they might be more inclined to, support those efforts if we don't pile a bunch of things like, recreation, mosquito control, whatever else, and we just ask for one thing, the core thing, keeping the place dry.
Right, and that's the whole thing. The levees, people have to understand that the levees are the most important thing to protection and the growth of the parish, of having a dry Highway 23 so we can evacuate and also protect us from the storm floods.
Got it. Okay, and the next couple of things might be a little dialed in. Sorry to get so far in the weeds here. The Ollie pumping station, the oil cooler pipe repair. Do you have a rough cost on that?
It's going to depend. I'm going to have to get divers to go down. If it's a small hole, we can simply put a pipe clamp on it and it'll be done. If the pipe is broke off or the coolers are damaged, it's going to be a pretty costly fix. We're going to have to de-water the basin to get down there to fix it.
Got it. Okay. Now, Mr. Spears, I chose not to have an assistant this year, so I do have some funding in my budget. Some of it has been used for some training purposes, and I would be willing to get that pumping station, get that oil cooler repaired. So there is, I have a little bit. It might not be enough for the, doing it the absolute correct way, but if you can, just get those costs over, and we'll make sure we have the legislation. We'll move the money over ASAP before it starts raining a whole lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you for compiling this list. It's vital.
You're welcome.
Mr. Roussel?
Yes, following along Dr. Goui's line of thinking about putting this money back into a fund or something, did this COVID money and this money that we are talking about, reimbursements, did we use that to balance the budget for this year?
We did some, but we also put some in the emergency fund. There is as you know, there's money coming down again from the feds. We don't know what our portion will be, what our share, but that might be an opportunity then to maybe move some of that money into some repairs for pumping station.
You're talking about the bill passed yesterday?
I'm sorry?
Talking about the bill that passed yesterday?
Yes, yeah.
I think we're going to get about $4.5 million. We're only going to be able to access about $2 million.
It's a formula, right.
To up front, but the sewer and water is what's listed in the bill. We discussed that the other day about the booster station at Ravenna Road, unless we wait and see what the grant process is going to be. And that's why when you mentioned that money, I think we kind of used that money already to balance the budget this year.
We did use some of it, yeah.
So,
but I'm talking about future money coming down. If maybe take this opportunity and see what's coming down, and maybe move some of that money up. We used that other money from the CARES Act money.
you had something ready to enlighten me?
No, I was just saying, it's my recollection that Tommy, basically, where the reimbursements went to each of those departments, he moved the funds from there back to the undesignated, unreserved, when I think we balanced the budget at the end of the year, is my understanding how those funds were used.
Okay, so, and back to the money that's coming on the act that was passed yesterday, the $4.5 million. We need to get a game. We sat around in the conference room the other day talking about who's doing what on the booster station and the water system and all. Are you tuned into that?
I am tuned into some of it, but we talked about other repairs, not just pumping station. We need about $5 million to our water system.
I'm talking about this water booster station and this money that's coming.
I know a little bit about it
Because,
Eppley's kept me abreast of what's going on.
Well, we need to, if we're going to hang our hat on the Port Priority Fund program for that, or we're going to use some of this money to do the project, the port's going out and getting it engineered. As we speak, they're seeking RFQs. So I think we need to kind of get a game plan together as to how we're going to disperse the funds. And are you going to apply for capital outlay as well for that booster station?
I'll exhaust every avenue we can.
Mr. LaFrance?
Yes. That project at the Point Celeste pumping station, what was all that construction about?
What they did, the Corps paid to put frontal protection there and basically a concrete wall. But what they did, they hooked all the new equipment up to our old dilapidated pump station. So at Point Celeste, we lucked out because post-Katrina, there were some extra motors given to the parish by the Corps. One was for Point LaHash, one was for Sunrise, and one was for the Braithwaite pump station. I had the contractor come and look at them, and we'll be able to use 2 of those in Point Celeste, which is going to save us the motor cost of about $300,000 to $400,000 each. So Point Celeste, we had the motors. We just have to pay to put them in. I believe on that contract, it's like $157,000 to install them.
And the gearbox we use it. I know there's 2 gearboxes. There's one gearbox that's better than the other.
Yes, sir.
When you're replacing gearbox, are you using the better one?
No, we are using, when we replaced that one gearbox, that was a gearbox taken out of the old Wilkinson pump station. We actually did that ourselves. We had to pay for the crane, but we swapped it out in-house, so we didn't have to pay for it. But that gearbox as well is just as old and on its last leg, just like the rest.
What I'm asking is, or when we replacing gearbox, are we going with the better type of gearbox?
I would like to, yes. We use the Corps pays for Duran, which is it's a sub-product. It is not. It gives us trouble at every pump that we have these Duran gearboxes. The Philadelphia gearboxes are probably 10 to 50% more in cost, but it is a way better product.
They still making those?
Yes.
The other one's like glass transmission, huh?
What's that?
The other one's a glass transmission, though, huh?
Yeah.
Did the port ever reach out to you? I know that the last time we spoke at the council meeting that they were interested in running and maintaining Point Celeste pumping station.
Yes.
I think we remember that. Did they ever reach out to you?
They did speak with me, but what they needed from us is us to keep the canal lower than our normal level, which is actually costing me more overtime and money running the pump. But you know, we're going to try to accommodate them as well as the levy project with that.
Did you ever seek financial help from the port?
I haven't.
Maybe we need to add that to the interagency fee.
Well, one opportunity would be that we would take and create a drainage district in that Omniport complex area, and we would be able to assess fees, drainage fees in the Omniport complex holder. Might want to think about that and assess some drainage cost to the area. Create a new drainage district, so to speak.
Okay.
Any other questions? Administration, audience?
That's all I have on the presentation. I want to thank Mr. Spears.
Got one question from.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Got one question coming behind you.
Burgo Turner, 161 East Bellevue, Port Sulphur. Just real quickly, was any of this brought up during the budget hearings? Were you aware as far as the need for these repairs, or are we just finding out about them?
We didn't bring it up in the budget. We made them aware now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Since we're talking about the relief package coming,
Are we on pumps now?
just pumps.
Pump
Okay.
stations?
I thought it was, I could comment on President Lepine's whatever he was talking about,
Mr. Russo asked
budget.
if we could use some of the package for the pumping station. So, I mean, we said pumping stations.
Okay.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, to answer Mr. Turner's question, I actually knew about it. We spoke before, and I spoke to Mr. Spears multiple times with engineering about Bell Chase 2. I also want to add, we even spoke to the commander of the base for Bell Chase 1 and 2. They're putting in a grant application, I believe that's been submitted between.
Yes, but we didn't get it.
Oh, we didn't get it, so we didn't get it. Okay. All right, I didn't hear the results of it, but I appreciate it.
Bell Chase 2 is, we're going to have 2 of those back in service with turbo work. It's $11,000 per turbo.
Yeah.
We're going to do 2. The third motor is, it's a gearbox issue. So that's going to be, it's going to be pretty costly.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Mr. LaFrance?
The Wilkinson Canal pump, that's the Murder Grove pump? And right now they're being repaired. That's under warranty?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Spear, when you get a chance next week, get up with me at my office, and I'll try to see if I can find that money to repair the pumps in my district.
Okay, I sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Ms. Marcotte, 4-1.
Update by Charter Directors, old business, new business.
John called, he's looking for all his stuff.
All right. No one has any? Mr. LaFrance?
Roussel, I'm still waiting on a report on that garbage truck. At the last council meeting, I actually gave me a report on that garbage truck, and I'm still waiting on it till today.
I'm sorry, sir, I forgot this. I'm sorry, I forgot to send you the email. I did check on it, and it is running. We sent the mechanic and Jerry Angelos back up to the shop and check out some things. They had an air tank that had a minor leak underneath the bottom, and you have to have a certain amount of air pressure to run both the truck, the brakes, plus the house system. So they're in the process of changing out that one tank, and then we'll get them back up there and run the truck, but it is back together and running. Yes, sir.
You got a projected cost of a new one?
About $350,000.
Okay.
They already have one ordered for Solid Waste South.
Okay.
Okay? We ordered it actually the end of last year, but it takes quite a while to get it put together.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Ms. Marcotte?
Number 5, bids and advertisements. There are none. Number 6, liquor licenses.
If anybody has any key in? Mr. LaFrance?
I have Murder Grove Marina. Trying to find the address. There is an address on there. Location 161 Marina Road. I guess it's Port Sulphur.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, Rotolo's Bell Chase LLC, Rotolo's Pizzeria, 102 Woodland Highway, Suite 5.
Do I have an offer?
Powerful.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance. Do a second? Second by Dr. Gouy. Any questions? Machines are open. And they pass 7-0.
Seven A1.
Can you-
Are we taking 2 through 7 in Globo?
Yes, ma'am.
Number 2, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-184, dated February 17th, 2021. Install pile clusters, drill the Cabela A prospect, and install wellhead protector, 3-inch and 4-inch flow lines like Washington Field. Councilmember Newberry. Number 3, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-185, dated February 17, 2021. Install pile clusters, drill the Cabela B prospect, and install wellhead protector. 3-inch and 4-inch flow lines, Lake Washington Field, Councilmember Blink. Number 4, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-186, dated February 17, 2021. Install pile clusters, drill the Cabela C prospect, and install wellhead protector. 3-inch and 4-inch flow lines, Lake Washington Field, Councilmember Blink. Number 5, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-187, dated February 17, 2021. Install 2-inch flow line, Bastion Bay Field, Councilmember Blink. Number 6, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-188, dated February 17, 2021. Prop wash, install pile clusters, drill the Dunhill South prospect, and install wellhead protector. 2-inch gas lift line and 4-inch flow lines, Burwood Field, Councilmember Konovich. And number 7, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2021-189, dated February 17, 2021. Prop wash, install pile clusters, drill the Dunhill North prospect, and install wellhead protector. 2-inch gas lift line and 4-inch flow lines, Burwood Field, Councilmember Konovich.
Do I have an offer?
I'll offer it.
Offer by Mr. Blink. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Newberry. Any questions? Machines are open.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Didn't make it.
Can he yes for
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. LaFrance has a verbal yes, so they pass 5 with 2 abstentions.
He abstained, he's not even here. Oh,
7B is being deferred.
Chairman Konovich,
Yes.
I'm going to step out to attend a funeral.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Convey my condolences to the family.
Absolutely.
same here.
7C, Tyler Wilson, new vending ice machine in an A2 zoning district, 14735 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Blink.
Mr. Blink, you want to stay for 1 second? But Mr. Roussel offers our second. I have one question. Did they put up a fence between them and the next landowner?
I connected the two landowners with each other, and they said that they were going to work it out amongst themselves.
All right, thank you. Have any questions? Yes, sir?
Tyler Wilson, 102 St. Maria in Luling. He put us in contact with each other, but I haven't heard from him after reaching out. I'm more than willing to work with him, just need to get in touch with him. There was another concern about his water meter being in the middle of the property. I have no plans on utilizing the middle of the property at this moment. The ice machine would be more so to the left front part of the property, as forward as I can go. And I think there was,
me wanting to see if you could put a fence up between you and him.
you mean the street that goes the right of way right there?
Where?
Or on along the railroad?
He said he wanted a fence between the two of y'all. That's
Okay.
all he told me.
So who's the property owner?
Steven Side, I think his name is.
So for clarity, Mr. Sode owns the property. Is it on? Oh, there it
Yes.
is. So for clarity, Mr. Sode owns the property directly behind the railroad track. It's a slab house in the back, and the property owned by Tyler, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tyler is in the front of the railroad track. And Mr. Sode had complaints about loitering and trash and things like that, which are probably coming from an adjacent business there. The machine that Mr. Wilson wants to put is it's a vending machine for ice. So it's not like a big machine that you get inside of. And, you know, who's to say that there's not going to be an errant bag of ice rolling around, but I don't think the loitering is going to be associated with the ice machine. But I did get feedback from Mr. Sode, And he said that he was going to reach out on his own and work it out between y'all two. And so he's the one that actually mentioned that there was his water meter ran through the property. So, you know, the way he was talking in the email, he seemed, you know, he was okay working it out.
All right.
But
So you want to defer, or do you want to go forward?
let's go ahead and vote on it.
Any other questions? Machines are open. They pass it 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Blink.
Are we taking D through I in Globo?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
D, Darvin Riley, 4 Trailer Residence, 37189 Highway 23, Buras, Louisiana, Councilmember Konovich. E, David Turner, 3rd Trailer Residence, 27804 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember LaFrance. F, CNH Mobile Home Park, Carol Turner, Trailer Park Renewal, 26287 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember LaFrance. G, Emmett's Trailer Park, Dennis Adolph Jr., Trailer Park Renewal, Yvonne's Lane, Boothville, Louisiana, Councilmember Konovich. H, Harvey Properties, LLC, Todd Harvey, Trailer Park Renewal, Sooner Lane, Venice, Louisiana, Councilmember Konovich. I, Socrum Shrey Trailer Park, Socrum Shrey Trailer Park Renewal, Perry Lane, Buras, Louisiana, Councilmember Konovich.
I'll offer ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. LaFrance. Any questions? Machines are open. It passes 6-0. Let the record show Mr. Blink stepped away and is going to be absent.
Number 8, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. We do have some. These are for Councilmember Konovich. An ordinance to amend the 2021 Manpower Structure Operating Expenditures Budget General Fund Interim Employee Training Department and Parish Council District Aid Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing settlement of, I'm not sure how to pronounce the first name, Keosha Brown Watson versus Shelter Mutual Insurance Company, Plaquemines Parish Government, Robert Jackson and Tawana Lambert, matter number 19-6626 of the civil docket for the Civil District Court of the Parish of Orleans, and to amend the 2021 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Legal Judgments Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto. A resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of not exceeding $8 million of revenue anticipation notes of the Parish of Plaquemines, State of Louisiana, providing certain terms of said notes, making application to the State Bond Commission for approval of said notes, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, pump station repairs, parish-wide project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. For Councilmember Bartholomew, an ordinance to amend the 2021 Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget Ferries General Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance creating an additional ferry schedule for the Belle Chase and Point-a-la-Hache ferries and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. For Councilmember Arbrough, an ordinance to amend and adjust the fee schedule for emergency medical services provided by the Plaquemines Parish Ambulance Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. For Councilmember Newberry, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Live Oak Plantation Development, LLC, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on the map of re-subdivision tracts GR-1B and JR-1-A into lots GR-1B1, GR-1B2, and GR-1B3. Live Oak Plantation by Bryant Hammond and Associates, certified by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated December 28, 2020. Though having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines, without cost of Plaquemines Parish Government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to authorize the construction of the Jesuit Bend Levy Lift project on existing NOV-NF-W-04A hurricane back levee along west bank of the Mississippi River between Oakville and La Recite in Plaquemines Parish, to authorize the parish president to do all things necessary and proper to obtain the needed permits and acquire necessary easements, rights of way, or servitudes through amicable negotiations or through expropriation, if required, and sign an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Louisiana through CPRA and amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Oakville to La Recite back levee project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And for Councilmember LaFrance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 general fund operating expenditure budget, flood control general department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the introductions.
Thank you, Ms. Marcotte.
Number 8, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. I'm sorry, number 9. 9A1, deferred. 9A2, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Blaine Sheets, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the re-subdivision of 2 designated lots into lots S-1 and S-2, Venice, Louisiana, plan and plat of survey by McKay and Associates, LLC, dated November 18, 2020, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines, without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer ask for a second. Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions? Administration, audience, machines open. Passes 6-0.
Number 3.
Defer.
Number 4, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of the Parks of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the map of the Parks of Plaquemines Phase 3A, being a re-subdivision of a portion of Tract 3-D-2, Section B of Belle Chase Plantation into lots 78V through 96V, lots 193 through 203 and lot 226 and lots 229 through 233, Homeowners Association Tract 9H, and streets by Brant Hammond and Associates, certified by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated February 10, 2020. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines, without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
All right. Ms. Black offers a second. Second by Dr. Gouy. Mr. Black.
It's a total of 36 lots for final approval.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
I think at the plantation, you said you was ready for a moratorium, so these are on the moratorium?
No, that's not, these are on final.
So we're not going to go with the moratorium?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, if you want to open a discussion up, and actually, I don't think you and I spoke about it, so you must have heard it from your buddy.
Well, I was sitting right next to him when you told him.
It was just us, actually.
No,
It was just me and
No, he was sitting next to him.
right next to him.
Anyway, so this is 36. There's one phase left in the parks, which is phase 3. Phase 3 is separated into 4 different subphases. That's phase 3A and 3D, which is we can vote on today. That's 36 lots apiece. And then 3B and 3C is going to be done once the streets get approved. As the conversation I told you about, the Cypress neighborhood is approved at 240. I've told the developer that I'm done with that, and I have no problem with this phase after this is finalized. If y'all want to put a moratorium or whatever, I'd support on new neighborhoods. I don't have a problem with that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Roussel?
So these 36 lots are in the original plan?
Yeah. These 36 and that's 36, and then phase 3B and 3C, which is about to be finished construction of the streets, are in the original plan as well.
And when the total phases are completed, how many lots in the parks will there eventually be?
You'd have to ask Mr. Bro.
He's sitting in the back, he can come up.
I don't have that exact number in front of me, but I believe all of Phase 3 is, I believe, 93.
I'm talking about the whole park.
And then the whole thing would be, I think the first phase entirely was 220, so that's,
220 plus 93.
yeah, there you
I
go.
remember a number being around 300 or so.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
Mr. LaF-
Are there any other planned areas that they want to develop?
Not at the, no. Mr. Black was correct,
So when these phases are done, it's over?
as far as I know.
As long as I'm up here.
Well, that's not very long in the scheme of things. All right.
Mr. LaFrance?
God.
Yes, are we handling all the infrastructure? Plaquemine Parish handling all the water
This is-
and all the sewer?
So sewer, and actually the sewer goes to Orleans Parish. And then the water does Plaquemines, but it has the option to draw from Orleans Parish. And then unlike other neighborhoods, the neighborhoods themselves are all on the hook for roads, drainage, well, the swales and everything, and then streetlights as well.
How much Orleans Parish is charging us for the sewer?
I believe they're happy because they have access at the English turn. So they have all this access. So I think they're just charging us whatever we charge ourselves because they're happy to get, because they have so much access.
The Lower Coast plant,
Right.
the Lower Coast plant off of Woodland Highway is operating at about 30% capacity. And like you said, the charge is no more than it would be charged for us, and the homeowner pays that bill. It takes the burden off of our sewer system, so it goes to them. So it is a
A wash?
well, it's a wash, but it also relieves pressure on all systems, which is good.
Plus you get the benefit of all the tax dollars, you get ad valorem and sales tax and whatnot that all the people living in the neighborhoods bring there. But at the same time, we're not having to pay to maintain a sewer plant or something like that.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Any other questions? Machines open. Passes 6-0.
9A5, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of the Parks of Plaquemines, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on the map of the Parks of Plaquemines 3D being a re-subdivision as shown on the map of the Parks of Plaquemines reading the same sentence, of a portion of Tract 3-D-2, Section B of Bell Chase Plantation into lots 172A through 177A, lots 178 through 192, and lots 234 through 248, Homeowners Association Tract 11H and streets by Bryant Hammett and Associates, certified by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated February 10, 2020. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines, without cost of Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offers, I'll second.
Same thing, 36 lots.
Any questions? Machines open. It passes 6-0.
Nine B will be deferred. 9C will be deferred. 9D, a resolution to establish a one-year moratorium. 9E, we already did that one. 9G, a resolution authorizing and directing the parish president, Kirk Lapine, to execute a contract for professional services with Ladder and Bloom Holding LLC for real estate broker services and other related services to Plaquemines Parish government.
I'll offer, ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions? Administration, Mr. LaFrance,
Why we need a real estate agent?
Mr. Burris,
I didn't hear the question.
why do we need a real estate agent?
Well, I think it's been shown over many years that parish doesn't have the expertise or the capability to provide the type of services you guys want to do with all the property that we have. So we did an RFP. I think we had several responses. Mr. Espadron could probably speak more on that. And this was the firm that the administration felt was most beneficial. It also had the lowest as it related to commissions. It did it on a scale where I think the other folks did not. So as you know, we have serious manpower issues. I'm not a real estate agent. We don't have one in-house. And I think it's probably understood by all, we need that expertise in order to move some of these properties if we intend to sell them or lease them.
'Cause I sold one last meeting, and then I got 3 more that people want to buy, so they would handle all this.
So,
Dr. Gouy?
Yeah, this is the continuation of legislation we approved earlier for what to do with our surplus property. And we went through the process and the discussion, and I repeat what Mr. Bureau said. We needed someone with the expertise, and we worked out the specifics of the contract. Then Mr. Paul Richard, hoping he had contacted everyone by now. If not, he will contact you for any questions.
Mr. Roussel?
and can we get him working on the promotion of Port Eads?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. We've discussed that. That's going to be slightly different, although I think we need his expertise because that's going to be an operating agreement, probably not a lease because of the property issues we have with the federal government on that. So, but certainly, I think wherever his expertise is going to be needed or useful, we need to take advantage of that.
Could we ask the federal government if they wanted to donate us the lighthouse? Because I got a buyer for that too.
Mr. Cooley and I have been in multiple back and forths with the Coast Guard for, I don't know, going back to when I was here under Mr. Nungesser's administration. And it's very difficult to get any movement on that. The last, especially with COVID, but the last transmission that I recall is that the Coast Guard was probably not interested in, or it would take too long to sell, that they would probably prefer to do a lease type situation, in which we've responded where it's difficult communicating. I don't know how much more to say other than that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Machines are open.
Ladies,
Our machines are open.
I'm sorry, we're discussing an issue with the system, not the operator.
It passes 6-0. H is deferred.
I. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Libraries Department and to amend the Library Services Fund 2021 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Libraries, General Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
so offered.
Mr. LaFrance offers, I'll second. Is there any questions? Administration, audience, machines open. It passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
while we on library, Ms. Taylor, would you like to announce the ribbon cutting ceremony?
Yes, the new Port Selfer Library ribbon cutting ceremony will be held on March 31st at 11 o'clock.
Thank
I
you.
also want to thank you for having that tree cut down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Epley and Mr. Roussel.
Like to defer 9-1. 11,
Do you want to do number 10 first?
yes.
Approval of the minutes from the January 28th, 2021 regular meeting.
So offered.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance, I'll second. Any questions? Machine's open.
Did y'all pass aye?
Yeah.
Y'all didn't let me
It
vote.
passes 6-0.
11B,
On sewage problems. The last month, I've talked with y'all the other day about it, but probably daily, I'm getting 2 or 3 calls a day about raw sewage in people's yards and all.
Yes, sir. You gave me some information at the audit committee meeting earlier today. I'll be down there to check on that tomorrow. I've already sent something to Infomark to make sure that they're working on that issue. Any other issues you have, please send to me so I can investigate what's going on and make sure that we don't have those problems again.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go right to the water bill issue.
Okay.
I'm getting numerous calls about $300 and $400 and $500 water bills. And according to them, and I know, and you know yourself, but they say they don't have any leaks, nobody's stealing their water or anything. And I got a complaint from one today. He went to the office over here to pay his February and March bill. They said he didn't pay January, so he had to go home and get the paid slip saying that he paid January, and they didn't know where it went to. So she wanted to put it towards February and March. And he says, well, I don't know if I'm going to live in March. How are we going to know what I'm going to use? And she blamed the council for all of their problems.
I apologize for that. They should not be blaming the council for all of those problems. I will be glad to look at those on an individual basis. As you know, there could be a number of issues with each different water bill. It could have been a mistake on the part of the person that read the meter. There's a lot of different issues that it could be. So if you have anyone that calls, please refer them to me and I'll investigate each one of them.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
It
11F,
deferred.
11G,
Deferred. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So offered.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance, do I have second by Ms. Newberry? Machines open. And the meeting adjourns at 7 o'clock